Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to become the goddesses they are meant to be. And I am Julietta, the magical PT. I've been a physical therapist now for 30 years. That seems crazy that so much time has gone by, but I help busy people bring balance to their body, mind, and spirit, because if they're not all balanced together, your body's not going to be any good anyway. I'm also an artist. I paint, I work with crystals, and what else? Oh, I'm from Wisconsin, but I've lived in Florida for I don't know how many years. Since 1994, I moved down here. So no matter how long I live here, I'm always the Midwestern girl. I'm always from Wisconsin. And yeah, that's enough about me. Let's hear from my co-host, Allison.
Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here. My name is Allison Mancini, and I am a holistic nutritionist. I am a mom to two amazing adult children, age 24, almost 25. That's frightening. He and I were talking about that. He's like I'm 50. He's going to be 25. That's weird. Anyways, like, how did that happen? And then I have a 22-year-old daughter. I have been married for almost 28 years. And I've been living in South Florida since 1993, but originally from Michigan. So also a Midwest girl at heart. And when people ask me, I always say I'm from the Midwest because that's where home is, as much as I love South Florida. And my passion is really to help busy moms and women make sure that they stay as healthy as they can and give them the tools that they need to keep their nutrition strong, to keep their mind, their body, everything great. And I know that if the mom who's kind of in charge of everything in the house, if she's doing all those amazing things, it will trickle down to the children and to her spouse or her partner. So that is my passion, just to help women stay as healthy as they can. So what are we chatting about this morning?
So many in our audience know we have a book club, and we do that inside our Facebook group, Circle of Goddesses. And so each month we pick a new book and we go live on Facebook on Mondays at noon to talk about this book. So, each month I got to go and buy this book. And this month when I went to buy it, so we're doing Conversations with God, book 2 this month. And normally when I go on to buy my book, I always buy the paperback because it's cheaper. And this month, the voice inside my head said, you love reading hardcover books. Like, there's something like just extra special about holding a hardcover book. Like, everything just feels more luxurious about it. And I'm like, it's a couple dollars more. Like, who cares? Buy the hardcover. So I bought the hardcover, and when it came in, I'm like touching the book and feeling it. And when I'm reading it, I'm just like happier reading a hardcover book. So, for a couple dollars, like, why deny myself the hardcover book, right?
So we've been talking about that. We've been talking about how we tend to, and I don't know if I think it's more of a female thing. I hate to say it because I don't think men do this. At least my husband doesn't. Like, if he wants something, he just buys it. Right. But we as women are like, no, I probably shouldn't. I don't really need it. It's okay. I'll just get the less expensive version like you did. I do the same thing every time. In fact, I don't have my Conversations of God book 2 because I told my husband, no, it's okay. Don't give me the hardcover. The paperback is fine. Which the paperback took a week to come, and the hardcover I would have already had by now. So my bad. Julietta and I are learning how to not feel guilty and do those things and buy the hardcover. It's only a few dollars more, and you deserve it. Like, we deserve it. Stop feeling guilty. That's our whole, at least that's my takeaway. I need to stop feeling guilty about this stuff because it's okay. I'm not going to go broke over a couple more dollars on a hardcover book, right?
Right. Exactly. I'm like, I don't go to Starbucks for coffee every day. Like, that's probably the price difference, like the cost of a cup of coffee. So
my husband calls it $5. Because whenever I go to Starbucks, and it's not very often anymore, but when I go as a treat, I walk out of there and it's $5 because I have to do the soy milk or the coconut milk, you know, and they add on 60 cents, $1 for every single thing. Extra pump of chai, there's another buck. It's like ridiculousness. Anyways. All right.
Are we ready for a guest?
I think so. I'm so excited for this guest.
Me too.
All right, let's bring her on. Hello, Joy.
Hi, Joy.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
So excited to see you. We haven't seen you, quote unquote, in a really long time, and that makes me sad, but we're really happy you're here today.
I'm happy to be here.
Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about you?
Okay, well, thank you both for including me in this journey. I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast, and I just appreciate you both so much, and I am really happy to be here. My name is Joy Lynskey. I own Jewel Tone Interiors. I'm the last of a blended family of 6 from Florida, like 6th generation Floridian, University of Florida grad. I met my husband in 2005. He came with a bonus daughter, so I have a 21-year-old, and then we have 3 kiddos together.
Nice. And 3 little ones.
Yeah, 3 under 10.
Oh yeah, no. 2 was enough for me. That was good. So tell us more about what you do though at Jewel Toned.
Okay, so I started Jewel Tone Interiors in 2013 because I had worked in retail design firms and they were very competitive in nature. And I wanted to create a very collaborative environment where there was somewhat of work-life balance. I feel like that term is like a caveat, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
I believe in harmony between work and life. And so I've created, I met my business partner in 2016. She joined in 17 and she's been a partner since 2019. So I'm doing this in conjunction with her and it's been a lot of fun. We've always been women until April. So Q2 this year, we have a man on our staff.
What?
Yeah.
No way. So what is he called? Because you have you're the Jewel, you're right?
Like still the gem. We're all
he's
gem.
a gem too? Oh, that's so awesome. I love it.
A lot of people ask us that. Like, is he your rock? I'm like, he's like our wrangler because we're all creatives and he's not an interior design major. So he kind of keeps us focused.
Nice.
So we design commercial interiors predominantly. We do a lot in affordable housing. We actually have the privilege of working with a lot of nonprofits, which is amazing. We've done a little bit in healthcare, small scale healthcare, not hospitals, but like Doc in a Box, PT, even dental offices. And then we have done our first charter high school in Marco Island. And so we're really excited about working in education.
That's really cool. How fun that must be, like to do like innovative, cool stuff for the students. Ooh, I'd love to see that. Are you going to put pictures of that up anywhere when you're done?
Yeah, definitely. There'll be their mascot is the manta ray. So we really had fun with the manta ray in that project.
That's really cool. Yeah, you do amazing work.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
We enjoy it.
Yeah. All right.
Dive into the questions.
Let's do it.
So, Joy, what is your superpower?
Oh, this one was so hard. I love that you ask, or like, what would you want to have?
Yeah.
So I feel like my superpower is connections. And finding connections between people or things that other people may not see. That's probably stems from being a creative and just kind of thinking about things a little bit differently. If I had to choose, I would be it'd be teleportation.
I love it.
Because I would love to be able to go to any culture at any time. I love to travel. I miss it. It's one of the hardest things about having kids is not being able to travel as much. I just get so inspired with experiencing other cultures.
Oh, yeah. I would love that too. And mine is not even just the traveling too, but the history. Like I'm a huge history buff, like to go back and see all those different cultures and the way that they lived. Like that would be so cool.
Yeah. I thought about that too with time travel.
Yeah.
Love that.
for sure.
Teleport through space and time. There you
That's
go.
what I'm thinking. I'm thinking both, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because like in Outlander, when they switch and they're able to go to like
Such a great show.
new country and new time at one time. Like, yes. Because at first it was just the same time, and then it's just space and time. And
yeah. It's so funny because I think about, I need to go watch that again because it was just so good. Like, I love that. Aren't they supposed to be coming out with a new season or something? But something got put on hold. I don't know.
I think I haven't seen the last season because it wasn't on any of my, I don't know who
streaming,
who streams it, but so I haven't seen the last season. And
speaking of books, I tried to read that book. It's like that thick. It's huge.
I bet.
Nah.
And it would be hard not to see what you've already seen.
I know. I should have done it the reverse. I should have read the books first, but
yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
Yeah, but he's pretty handsome. So
he's pretty nice to look at, no doubt. No doubt.
I'm married to a British redhead, so.
Oh, that's right. You are.
He's your type.
I'm partial.
A little partial to that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That's funny.
Hilarious.
All right.
So question number 2, Joy, is what is your favorite book or a book that has most influenced you?
I love how all your listeners and interviewers are such readers. Like, we're like nerds unite. All of us.
So true.
So if I was going to say the most transformative for me is Dr. Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection, because I'm a recovering perfectionist and a recovering people pleaser, like as in it's a practice. I've read it 3 times and I plan to read it annually just as like a reminder. Yeah, it's just every time I pick it up, I find something new. And then I have to mention Get a Grip. It's the EOS Methodology. It's by Gino Wickman. That's what I run my business around, is that whole methodology. And that's really helped transform our business.
That's a new one for me.
Get a Grip is more of the storytelling style. There's a book called Traction, and it's more of like a textbook. So it's funny because a lot of women gravitate towards Get a Grip, and then the men like Traction. It's like the brass tacks, you know?
Yeah.
That's really cool. So it's interesting. Of course, I've heard of Brene Brown. I feel like if you have not heard of Brene Brown, you're living under a rock these days because she's well known. Right. She's everywhere. So I actually was going, I'm a podcast junkie as long as a book junkie. You can see all my books behind me. And I'm walking the dog yesterday and I'm like, you know what? I've never listened to Brene Brown's podcast. Let me jump on and listen to it. I was like, I really like her. I've never read one of her books. I know nothing about her other than she's well known. And I'm like, let me listen. She was so good. I'm like, now I need to, because I am a perfectionist, ridiculousness. That was one of the things Julietta and I know for me, and I think she and I have talked about this, we really had to let go of that with this podcast, because if we had held on to that idea of perfectionism, we still wouldn't be, we wouldn't be at over 60 episodes if that was the case, because the two of us, thank God we had each other to be like, okay, it's okay. We can do this, and it can, we've had times where we've in the middle of interviews, we've totally lost people, and we're like, all right, so moving along, you learn to work through the imperfections, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I've got to check out both those books because I've never read either one.
She helps me get out of my own way.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would, if you are going to read that book for the first time, she did this summer. She did a whole series with her sisters. She has identical twin sisters, and they delved into every guidepost. So you could do read the guideposts and then listen to them, and it would be a deeper dive.
Huh. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it's neat.
Love that.
But I often speak about being a recovering perfectionist, and I had this aha moment. I don't know how many years ago now, but quite a few back, where if anyone hears me talk about I had the best parents ever. I have zero complaints about my parents. And my parents always told me that I was perfect. And I was like, how awesome is that to have parents that like think you're perfect? And then I had this realization, like they always tell me I'm perfect. And that just like reinforces to me that I have to be perfect. And like, you know, failure is not an option. Being imperfect is not an option. And like, dang, that set me up for so much stress. And, you know, having that awareness, it's like, oh. And you know what? I can even be imperfect and they will still love me the same, and they'll probably still think I'm imperfect, or that I am perfect even when I am being imperfect. So
yeah, in their eyes.
That's so interesting because like, and my flip side was it was never enough. Like it was always told you need to try harder, you need to do better. That was the message I got from one of my parents, not both, throughout a lot of my life. And it's so interesting to me to look at the two perspectives of you and I, and we both turned out to be perfectionists. So as a parent of two young adults and Joy with three little ones, finding that middle ground with your kid, you know, as you're raising your kids is challenging, no doubt about it, you know. But I think like you just said, Julietta, is making sure that your children know that no matter what, whether they do things well or not well, that you love them anyways, and they are amazing just as they are. And I think that's the one thing I try to impart upon my kids, because my kids are definitely hard on themselves, and that's probably my fault. So sorry, my children, as you're listening. I love you.
They are adults and they get to make their own choices.
Yes, that is true. That is true. All right. I like that. Okay. Thanks for those book suggestions.
Yeah.
So next question, Joy, is what is your favorite self-care practice? Because as a mother of three, you better be finding some time to take care of you also.
So I need to be more intentional in this realm for sure. But my favorite is, and actually something that my business partner and I are doing tomorrow, is floating. It's like a sensory deprivation. So it's amazing because it's salt water. And if anybody is a Stranger Things fan, it's basically 11 in the tank when she can access the upside down. There's got to be some listeners that know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yes.
So when I surprised my business partner to go floating for the first time, I said, we're going to go access the upside down. And she was like, wait, what? Like, because she just was like freaked out. Like, what does this mean? But then when we got there, and I had met the owners of the local one in Fort Lauderdale, Float 8. I had met them at a leadership, like an entrepreneurs organization kind of networking happy hour thing. Mm-hmm. And her name's Destiny, which so we just immediately like hit it off. Joy, Destiny, you know, we just had so much fun. And then she told me about this and I was like, I have to go like as soon as I can. So we've gone 3 times. So want to be more, we were hoping to like make it a quarterly thing. It's 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. And like both of us were like, we can't do 90 minutes. We can't. Mm-hmm. And like, we're like, is there like a half-hour version? They're like, we really recommend you do the full 90 because there's like so much there for you, you know, to like kind of let go of. But then once you now, like after your second, third, whatever floats, your subsequent, like you can just get there from a meditation standpoint. So like accessing like alpha waves is so much easier because there's no distraction. Everywhere you try to meditate, there's still distractions.
Yeah.
So Julietta has done this too. And she's talked to me about it and I'm like, I can't, I'm just supposed to lay there for 90 minutes.
It's amazing.
I don't know that I can do it.
You might take a nap. I think I have.
Okay.
So a friend of mine that I've actually done, she owns a flotation tank and she goes and sleeps in her tank. Like she'll go in for 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. So I'm mildly claustrophobic. And so the first time I went, I was like, is this going to be an issue for me? And it absolutely wasn't. I was like, it's totally fine. And Allison, you just have to do it, Allison. Like it's an amazing experience.
I didn't know that there was actually a place. So it's called Float 8. It's in Fort Lauderdale. I had no idea. So
I drive by it every single day because it's on
now
my
you
way
no
to the
excuse.
office.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And if you go in there with like a problem to solve and you want to mentally just like focus on that, I found it really cool because you can just get to access to things you might not have thought about being vertical.
All right, I'm gonna have to try it. Julietta, you might have to go with me for the first time.
Let's go do it. Yes.
All right.
Yes, buddy system. I love it.
Yay.
If the audience could see my face right now. I am not mildly claustrophobic. I am hugely claustrophobic. And let me tell you why. This is a good story and a little fun for our audience. I have 2 older sisters. I'm the youngest of 3 girls. My middle sister and I have a love-hate relationship. I truly love her, but when we were kids, we hated each other. Well, she hated me. I loved her. I was one of those like annoying little sisters. So I would beg her to play with me anytime. And she was like, I'm not playing, you know, whatever. Occasionally, she would entertain my wanting to play with her by taking me out in the backyard. And we had a hill in our backyard that like, it was like a berm at the top of our backyard and it rolled into our yard. She would take me up to the top of the hill with a blanket, roll me in a blanket and roll me down the hill. By the time I got to the bottom, I was rolled so tightly like a cocoon, I couldn't get out. She would then leave me there. She would go in the house and shut the door. And I would be I'm like kindergarten, okay? So Melissa, when you hear this, you did traumatize me for my life. And she knows this. We actually laugh about it now, but it's true. I'm like so claustrophobic.
Yeah, I can
Maybe I need to move through that in the float tank. There we go.
Yeah.
And like, you're not wrapped up like a cocoon. Like,
yeah, that's true.
There's room to move.
Yeah. And honestly, for me, the most distracting part of not having like the cocoon open, like the reason why I need it to be closed is because it's warmer. Like you get that like air that you get to like trap your air, which is good. Like otherwise, so it stays at the temperature, you know?
Okay.
Although that was the first time I went in, that was my struggle because I don't like heat. Like why I live in Florida, I don't know. Like the weather is definitely not why I'm here. But the first time I was in, like the air was so warm, like I felt like I couldn't breathe because it took me a while to work through that my first time in. But space-wise, no, I didn't feel claustrophobic at all. So.
It's worth it, Allison. I want to know. Let me know how it goes.
I'll keep you posted. Okay.
All right. Our 4th and final question. And this came from some research that we did prior to starting the podcast, finding out like what women wanted help with. And the thing that came up the most was creating accountability. And, you know, as busy women and having so many things to do, how do you, Joy, create accountability in your life?
So I think for me, accountability has a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. And so my business partner, Jacqueline, and I have really created a culture around accountability. So every day we huddle and we let each other know what our intention is. So then we really we've set it, we've put it in existence, and everybody knows whether or not you tackle that or not, or like let it slide. Mm-hmm. So that like holds us accountable. And then quarterly, we have something called a powwow, and we all get together and we discuss our intentions for our life, both professionally and personally. And that is a time where we're saying again out loud. And then we separate them in a 3 month, 6 month, and a year, and when we want to tackle it. And then we all try to hold each other accountable in that way. So it's really been helpful. We have an executive coach who's phenomenal. She coaches around integrity, which really, I feel like integrity and accountability are like sisters, you know, they run hand in hand. So she keeps us accountable on like a grander scheme. So it's really important to me to be able to do what I say I'm going to do. And I definitely fall off the wagon. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. As a creative, I like to be, and I think genetically I'm a tad scatterbrained naturally.
But I love how it's like it's part of your company culture.
Yeah, I do too.
It makes people feel powerful, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it makes them feel. It's funny because I'm reading. It's John Maxwell about influencing people, and one of the things that he talks. See, I read. I'm a total book nerd. I read all the time. I'm like reading like 6 different books right now. I just can't help myself. But he talks about how making people feel appreciated actually makes them want to be more accountable, right? Like, because you show that you appreciate them, you're supporting them. So I think it's really cool that you do like your huddle at work and you have your quarterly, and I think that's awesome. And what a great culture, what a great company to work for.
Oh, thank you.
That's Can awesome. I come work for you?
I know. I was gonna say, I wouldn't.
Oh my gosh, an in-house PT, don't even tease me.
But you know what? I mean, would we expect any less of Joy? I mean, you and I have known Joy for a few years now. And yeah, I can totally see her having an amazing culture in her office. And of course, with Jacqueline too. She's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay.
Awesome.
Well, this has been so much fun. My goodness.
All right. Are we ready?
It's time for our takeaways.
Okay. My takeaway is I got to read that book, The Gifts of Imperfection. I need serious therapy on that, because even though I'm getting better about not having to be perfect, it still causes blocks for me for sure. Like with my whole course, that's part of my issue, is that I feel like it's never good enough. So I need to definitely read that book. So that's my takeaway. I'm going to order it on Amazon today and add it to the other 6 books I'm reading right now.
Well, and to that, Allison, though, I'd say give yourself the grace. I feel like with this whole like Zoom world, that we live in now, people have so much appreciation for like the rawness and authenticity that'll come from your digital course. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be perfectly polished.
Sure.
Our world is different.
Very much so. Yeah.
It's definitely a different world. My takeaway is I'm going to hold you accountable, Allison, to get this floatate date set.
I love it.
What, you think I forgot about that already?
It's making me sweat thinking about it.
Perfect.
Julieta.
I do any opportunity. I got something that I like to say. Anything that makes my butt pucker, like. I'm gonna say yes. Let's try it, because
I love it so much.
I love living outside of my comfort zone now, and part of it comes from. So we had Marty Elberg on as one of our guests early on. One of only 2 men that we've allowed on this show, because he has he has the bucket list course, and it's all about like checking those things off your bucket list now. Like, don't wait till you're retired to do it. Like, what can you check off your list today? So, Allison, like, this is a good stretch for you. And you got to trust Joy and I that it's going to be worth it.
Okay.
And when you're all done, you'll be done.
All right, fine. We'll look into it. We'll get it scheduled, but you have to go with me.
I'm going with you. I can't wait. I'm excited.
Fine.
So, Joy, what is your takeaway from the show today?
Well, what I was going to say, all eloquently, was that I love the fact that, Julieta and Allison were raised like completely different ways, and still like, you are who you wound up being, right? And it's just like, it's really good for me. It's like a good reminder as a parent, we're just trying, right? And just to like, to just really show up for my kids and give them the space to be either way and to allow them to fail. But then when you said the butt pucker thing, I think I love that.
I forget she says that, and it's so funny.
I really do want to focus on doing more things that make me do that.
Your butt pucker.
Just say it, butt pucker.
I love it, because
it's just fun to say.
Whatever, yeah, it's like something that you struggle with. Yeah, I love it.
Just don't say it too much around your kids because they might really run with that.
They're going to a really small school. So
you need to make sure they're not saying that.
Yeah, that's really tricky. And the pandemic did not help that side.
No.
Guarding my words around my kids.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Listen, I do not envy you and all my other friends that have young children going through this last year and a half. Has had to be so challenging beyond words. I can't even imagine. So kudos to you for getting through it.
Thank you.
Hopefully you got through it in one piece. Apparently you're going floating for it. So there you go.
Yes. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, this show has been so much fun. Thank you, Joy. It's been a joy having you, Joy.
I've never heard it before.
Yeah, I know. How many times did she get told that?
I was a server, so quite a bit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But that's how I met my husband, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. This was amazing.
Excellent. And thank you to our audience for listening in. And if you've enjoyed what you heard, please subscribe, follow, like, share, all of that good stuff. We'd love some reviews in our on our podcast as well. So if you feel so inclined to be wordy, we'd love that too. And if you want to know how to get in touch with Joy or Allison, myself, or access any of the things that we've spoken about in this podcast today, look for that in the show notes. You'll find it all there. And I want to wish you all a very magical day.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, guys.